This is where we left in the previous video, whereby a user can subscribe to a plan by providing his or her credit card. The last step for us to have a complete payment or subscription is that we need to verify the user payment, and then we will go ahead and then update the user account. So let's go ahead and try out one more time by providing this test card as 4242, and as you can see, we have been redirected, and we have the payment ID as a query string in the URL. So this means that we are going to create a route on the front end that will match this particular route, and for us, we have already set up the URL inside the payment. If we get into the component, plans, and then the pricing, supposed to be the checkout here, we have implemented the redirect, which is this one. So we are going to create a component that's going to match this particular route. So let's go ahead and then create this particular component. And I have already provided the component as payment success. This is what we are going to render. So let's get back to the app.jsx, and then let's bring in the component as payment success. Let me resave to have the auto import as payment success, which is this one, and let's create a path for it. And for this one, unless you are logged in before accessing it, so here I'm going to duplicate this one and provide the component as payment success, and the path is going to be success. Now if I save it, let's see. As you can see, the component has been rendered. Let's go ahead and then implement the payment verification, which means that we are going to call this endpoint for the payment verification inside this particular component. So we need to have the API services to be used by React query to make the request. So let's get into the API services, plans, and here we go. I think, yeah, it's supposed to be Stripe instead, this one. So here we are going to verify the payment. So I'm going to remove these guys, and then let me copy this and change this one to payment verification, and here as payment verification API, and it is get request, as you see at the backend, which is get request. And then, and the endpoint is, let me confirm, is Stripe /verify, and then the ID of the payment. So here as verify, and then it needs the ID of the payment as the payment ID. So upon calling this, you're gonna pass in the payment ID. Awesome. And for this, remove this, and we will need this configuration to be able to pass the token from the cookie. Let's get into the payment success here, and then let's bring in the use query, and here we go, object query key, and I will say payment verify or verify payment, and then comma here query function, and then bring in the query function here as verify payment API. Let me check again, is this verify payment API. All right. Over here, we have to get the payment ID. Remember that the payment ID here is not a param, but instead it is a query string. So how are we going to take or get the query string value here for the payment ID? The payment ID ends here before the end operator and then the payment intent. So we are going to take the payment ID from here as this. So how are we going to access this one inside the payment success component? And we are going to use what is called use search params, which is this. So in here, we will say that get the query data for the payment ID. Down here, we're going to use the use search params from React Router DOM, which is this one. Then we are going to assign or destructure and get what is called search params, which is equal to this. Then next step is that let's go ahead and log the search params as log search params. And on that, we have a method called get. And here, what do you want to get? We want to get the value for the payment intent. And that is after the question mark, this is what we want to get. So here, make sure to type the exact name as quotes and paste that. Now, let's see in the console and let me refresh it. And we have the payment ID here. So now we can pass this one to the payment verification endpoint to be able to verify. So here to pass the ID. So let me assign this one to a variable called payment intent ID. So how are we going to pass to this one? So here as a function call, and then call it as a function and pass in the payment intent ID. And that is it. So let's go ahead and then destructure the properties as data is error is loading, and let me say a success. All right, so let's log the data here and let's see. Well, before trying out, let's get back to the dashboard. Make sure to copy this URL. I want to show you something. If I go to the dashboard, at the moment it says that this user don't have any plan being selected. So now we are going to verify the payment, and after that it's going to update this user account. So here, let's get back here, and if I refresh it, now let's check the console, and we got an object, as you can see, payment verified, user updated. It is the same thing as you see over here on the backend, as you see here, because we are done with the logic. So if I go to the dashboard, now have you seen that warning is gone, because right now the user account has been updated. Awesome. So guys, this is how we implement the subscription base. So we are going to create a middleware, and that middleware is going to check if a user has a plan selected, then the user can create post. Otherwise, we will say that subscription required.